Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And today we'll be playing the 8th part of Wild Arms V, the Veeth Vanguard, and we'll be covering up through completing Avril's Memory Maze. But before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
My week was a little rough. So a few weeks ago, I found a weird lump on my cat's tail.
Oh no.
And so I got her to the vet just the other day. And she doesn't do good at the vet. She was also due for her rabies shot, and they gave her that, and she was real bad when they did that.
Mm-hmm.
She tried to attack. The vet tech was very good at avoiding attacks, though, so no one was injured.
Good.
But they were like, okay, so we're gonna give you some gabapentin for her, and you'll need to give that to her and bring her back so that we can then stick a needle in the lump, get a tissue sample, send that off to the lab so we can make sure so that we can see if it's something serious or anything. And I can't afford the return trip and the lab work and everything.
Oh.
It's $250, which isn't like a lot of money, but it's still kind of a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, if you enjoy this content and you're in a gift-giving mood, I might just leave my Venmo in the description of this episode because I need some help paying for my cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely send some ducats Kitty's way if possible, because kitties are good and awesome and sweet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're having to go through that. It's never fun.
Mm-hmm. It's the sort of good news is that if it is something really serious, then they can just take the tail off, and she'll be fine. And she already has a weird short tail anyway, so. And if it's not something serious, then it's not in a spot where it's like bothering her. Yeah. So we won't need to, like, it's not hindering her mobility or anything, so we won't need to get it removed if it's not something serious. So anyway, has anyone had a better week?
I mean, mine would probably count as better, but it hasn't been like notably great. It's just been all right. I have had some insurance issues that I'm trying not to focus on. I've done what I can, and I just kind of gotta wait for the mail I sent in to have some sort of effect, which is, just great, honestly. Yeah. Better than that, I read some overdue library books finally and sent them in. Specifically the Brandon Sanderson White Sands graphic novels.
Nice.
That got way easier to read near the end of the second of the 3 volumes, because part of what had been keeping me back is that the art style, I didn't care for it. It was the kind of comic book style with, like, part of me wants to say overly detailed, but I wouldn't even say necessarily overly detailed. It's just like there's too much lines on everything. Like, everyone's faces has just so many lines that it's like, it just looks weird. And then they switch artists multiple points, and they switch to an artist who doesn't do that.
Good.
Which was so much better instantly and made the entire thing much more palatable to read through. So yeah, I finished White Sands, returned that finally. Great thing, my local library doesn't actually, the late fees, quote unquote, that I had, if you return the book, they disappear. There is no actual late fees, which is pretty great.
Yeah, I love
it. I'm currently putting a couple books on hold to pick up so I can start digging into some new stuff. Aside from that, not really much to say going on. I guess my wife Marie recently, her work gives you the choice of a turkey or a ham for Christmas time,
Oh, nice.
and to gives all the employees either a full turkey or ham. And so we had 10 pounds of ham, which we cooked yesterday. Well, not really cooked; it was already cooked, but we
Oh,
came
well,
with
I'm glad it was cooked.
yeah,
It was
no.
well, not really cooked. We ate it raw.
It was already cooked. You had to heat it up, and then there was which takes a while anyway because it's 10 pounds of ham with a bone in it. But it came with like a glaze, which was like, I looked at this and we made it. It was like, this is just like brown sugar. Like there's other stuff here, but this is just mostly just brown sugar. I'm gonna just slather this thing in. It's still really, it's delicious ham. Um, and I made a little pie for like the holiday type meal. She's gonna be heading to her family to spend the holidays with them tomorrow. While I'm gonna be staying behind with other partners slash roommates, and we're gonna be having Chinese food for Christmas.
Nice.
But yeah, that's been my week basically, and coming up faintly into the future, even though that is of the Voidbringers. I'm attempting to prophesy the future. What about you, Sam?
Speaking of Voidbringers,
Oh,
so I also finished a Brandon Sanderson book this week.
what was that?
I finally finished Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Oh,
It's really, really good.
I keep hearing that one's really good.
It's one of those books where you see the twist happen the first time they mention any of the clues, and you're like, oh, okay. But it's also one of those books where that doesn't fucking matter, and you just are on board for the entire book anyways. And
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I then immediately started Frugal Wizard, the Secret Project #2, and it's different.
That's the one I hear is the most contentious.
Yeah, a lot of people people bounce off of it because it's super different. I love when people do something super different. When King of Fantasy Brandon Sanderson was like, "Hey, I want to make this sci-fi book." Those are some of my favorite books of his, so I am okay with that. But the main thing that rubs me wrong about it is he wrote it during the pandemic, which means after March of 2020, which is also when George Floyd was killed.
Oh,
and the main character is a cop. He's like a special task force member, detective, the sort of things that, like, even in a abolished society, I think we should have something similar to a detective. So I don't hate it immediately, but the guy refers to himself as a cop, and I'm like, weird timing of when you wrote this, Brandon. I don't like that.
Yeah,
but
that reminds me of two. I have two Brandon Sanderson things now that. I'm sorry you brought it up. First, cop related. I'd heard for a while. I don't know if you'd heard this, but Mistborn Era 3 is supposed to. It's going to be set in like that world's equivalent to the 1980s. And for a while, when he talked about it, he was like, "Oh, the protagonist is going to be like a member of a SWAT team." And I said, "Fuck, no, please, I don't want that."
Yeah,
Brandon, I really don't want that. I don't really. That sounds bad. And he's apparently completely changed his mind on that. It's like, yeah, no, the main character is going to be like the equivalent of like early like 80s computer geek, like
nice.
Early nerd subculture. I'm like, okay, way better, infinitely good. Please,
infinitely better. Yeah. Continuing talking about Brandon Sanderson.
Yes.
I also there's a TikTok account going around that is talking about why religion works scientifically, and like what is happening and why it has such a stranglehold on people. And one of the big ones is, if you're hanging around with a lot of people who love the same music that you do and you're all singing music together, it's going to feel like a religious experience. Just ask any white girl that went to the Eras tour. And it's like, okay, cool, yeah, that one's pretty obvious. But one I didn't realize was if you have a like serious like single person book club, like reading a book that's very important to you, like line by line, sentence by sentence, going down in to pick a Bible verse, basically to go in and expound on that and think about that fully and expand what that means to you. That also is a very good way for you to like process mental health things and things like that. And so the person was like, that's why, like, the reason church works is it's a weekly concert and book club, and that's basically it. And so I was like, oh, I should do that with the Stormlight Archive, because literally so many things in my life are like resonating with it. So a coworker randomly gifted me 25 Amazon dollars, and so I'm getting one of the large size paperbacks of The Way of Kings, so I can scribble in the margins, underline, post-its, all of those sorts of things. And I'm starting that next week, and I'm super excited for it.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. The only other things that I did this week were play a shitload of Room Factory 5 and play around Not write notes, of course. And I played around in Foundry Virtual Tabletop, because my Pathfinder group, that's my polycule. They at our last session, they surprised me with a key to it, so that because Pathfinder is really, really cool, but it's a lot of things to remember. And I have a note from my doctor that says I shouldn't be forced to remember to do things. and so we were using One More Multiverse, which I prefer the look and the world creation vibe of One More Multiverse. It's like JRPG style, and I really, really like that. But it has zero automation for Pathfinder. Foundry has about 98% automation for Pathfinder, and so we're migrating over to that one. And I was playing around and learning a lot of stuff on that, and that was really cool. And then the final thing, the reason I didn't write notes, because I was planning on doing it today, but I have ADHD calendar where I have like 4 calendars going at the same time, but they're not synced together. And so my podcast calendar of, we record the podcast on Friday, I'm going to finish playing the part of Wild Arms and write all of the notes on Friday. Today was Scarlett's birthday, so none of that happened. So Bernard's going to be doing the notes today. But yeah, that crying 2-week-old baby in the original episode 0 is now 7 years old, and that's ridiculous. Incredible. Because we're in the middle of quote unquote year 5.
Congrats on making a human being.
Yeah,
and raising one, even more than that.
Yeah, it's cool. She's so big. Like she got hungry at the buffet for her thing. She got like wanted seconds, and she like got up from the table and walked to the buffet line and grabbed what she wanted on a new plate and came back to her seat. And just that was my baby just did a human thing. She's not a kid anymore. She's a human, and that's fucking weird. And I love it. So
amazing.
Big recommend. Have a 7-year-old. Not big recommend. Have a 1 through 6-year-old.
I'll take that into account when it comes to adoption.
Yes. Speaking of, I don't know. I don't have a segue tonight. Let's talk about this video game.
Let's do it.
With little direction to go on, the party boards a train to head nowhere in particular. Rebecca catches Dean alone in the, I guess, hall, which I feel like there's a specific word for, like, the hallway on a train, but I don't know what it is. But it's a corridor outside the, like, cabin, and again, I don't know if that's the word for it on a train, but the rest of the party's in a room, and Rebecca and Dean are outside the room, but they're all on the train, and Rebecca asks Dean if he likes anyone, and of course, we all see this coming. Dean says he likes Avril and Carol and Greg and Chuck. He likes everyone. The scene continues to play out pretty much as you'd expect, with no one actually expressing their feelings or making any progress on anything.
No, because that's not the joke.
But they're interrupted by a bang! A golem has landed on the tracks, and the train is headed right for it, because that's how train tracks work. And it looks like we're gonna have to jump! The party jumps off the train, and everyone survives, but the golem jumps down after them. Greg says he's putting his promise not to crush golems on hold. It's boss battle time! The party manages to crush the golem. Dean says it's not the golem's fault, and he muses that golems don't kill people, people kill people, and the party is like, what now? No matter where they departed from, or where they're going, they're near Lila Bell now, so they decide to head there and regroup. But who's that watching them from a distance? It's Kartikeya! The party goes to Lila Bell, and they immediately see Kartikeya there, just sort of like walking around a corner, so they run after him and confront him. And Kartikeya's like, I'm evil. If you want to fight, follow me to Mythismere. And Greg is determined to go to Mythismere and fight Kartikeya, and I'm like, Greg, what makes you think it will go differently this time? We've leveled up like once.
No, that's clear enough.
Yes. We cut to Volsung's dumb throne room. Faradun reports that Kartikeya's golem destroyed a whole town, and he's like, Volsung, you had to know that this would happen, and I can't abide the needless slaughter, even of humans. And Volsung's like, yeah, but I'm evil, and it doesn't matter because they're gonna die anyway, and Kartikeya's gonna make up for your failure and capture Johnny Appleseed.
Have you considered that on a geological timescale, everyone dies, and so no murders matter?
Yes. Anyway, the party heads to Mythismere. They head to the backyard dungeon area and encounter Kartikeya, Persephone, and a golem. They actually just encounter Kartikeya and a golem, and then later in the cutscene, Persephone just like walks. She just like sort of walks in. Yeah, she just is there. She was hiding. Kartikeya and Persephone state they're here to apprehend Avril, and they've had like 6 chances between them to do that already. But the golem knocks the rest of the party away and grabs Avril. Persephone also casually refers to Avril as the Ice Queen, which does not surprise us because we're not idiots. Avril agrees to go with them.
And if this was a Tales game, our characters would not pick up on this until after the final cutscene of the game.
Yes. Avril agrees to go with them as long as they don't harm her friends. We cut to the moderates. A navigator announces that the radicals have captured Johnny Appleseed. The captain says they'll just have to take her back. He'll go himself if needed. In the name of the Mayflower, we must take back Johnny Appleseed. And if the Ice Queen has awakened, don't hesitate to kill her. The party wakes up in a sci-fi jail cell and realizes Avril's not with them. A soldier comes in and says Volsung wants to see them. He leads them into a huge chamber with a huge golem in it. On a balcony high above, Avril yells at Volsung and his crew that they lied. Volsung is like, as I promised, I'm letting them go. By killing them, I'm evil.
This guy can learn bad guy tips from Spondum, and that really says bad things about you as a villain.
Avril is not happy about this. Volsung muses that the Ice Queen has changed so much since she ruthlessly cut down the moderates 12,000 years ago. Avril's like, what? Volsung's like, you lost your memory when you were abducted. He says some villain shit, then does some psychic brain magic on Avril, which seems to sedate her. The party calls out to Avril, but she doesn't really respond. And then the massive golem attacks. The party enters battle mode, but they can't defeat it. It keeps happening.
It doesn't stop from keep happening the whole time.
Then 2 more of the same golem show up. Dean struggles to his feet and states you can do anything as long as you don't give up. Avril, watching, repeats this catchphrase. You can do anything as long as you don't give up. Avril calls out to Dean. Volsung grabs her arm, but she says, "Don't touch me," and psycho-blasts him away. Avril leaps down from the balcony and lands right on top of Dean. She says in a weirdly sort of sultry way that they can leave the golems to her. Dean's like, but no human could beat them alone. And we're like, Dean, have you not been paying attention at all? Avril thanks Rebecca for all she's done for her, then psycho-blasts a golem. The party spent too long talking, however, because now Feridun, Kartikeya, and Persephone are blocking the exit. Dean tries to distract them by blowing on a whistle. Then a giant one-armed golem crashes through the ceiling. It crushes the other golems, then opens its palm for the party to get on. They're like, well, we don't have much choice, and also riding in a giant mech's open hand is the coolest thing, so we might as well. The golem bursts out of the building and starts zooming away towards a spaceship. But then a bad golem appears and shoots an energy ball at the good golem. The captain of the moderates leaps down from the spaceship, lands on the good golem's shoulder, knocks the energy ball away himself, and says, "Just call me Johnny Appleseed." It rules.
It's so good.
Volsung is pissed and calls on Feridun, who dashes through the rubble while cutting it with his sword. You know how. You know how people do that in this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Feridun reaches Johnny Appleseed and activates some crazy fire magic technology on his sword. But Johnny Appleseed catches the flaming blade and crushes it in his hands. And Dean's like, wow, that was cool. Both of them. The good golem reaches the spaceship and the party dismounts. Dean is just about losing his mind with how cool everything is, and I'm like, same. Carol wonders if they're on Locus Solus, the Varuni colony ship. A soldier walks up and says Johnny Appleseed is waiting for them. Dean's like, hell yeah, we finally found Johnny Appleseed, and runs off. The rest of the party follows, except for Avril and Rebecca, who hang back for a bit and have some dialogue, which I didn't find very interesting, but I'm sure Trish found some lesbian subtext in it.
How dare. This is character assassination? Honestly, no, I took a one screen cap, and that was, it's fine. I got nothing.
Yeah, there's not much in there.
Listen, this game, truly playing this game as a thirsty lesbian is like being in a desert, and any drop of water you get has got to quench your entire thirst.
Anyway, the party heads up to the bridge to meet the captain. He apologizes for calling himself Johnny Appleseed like that, especially in this company, since he's only the former Johnny Appleseed. He explains that Johnny Appleseed is the traditional name of the leader of the Varuni, and he was the previous one. The current one is none other than Avril Ventfleur?
Not like the game has made that extremely clear for a while now.
Avril's like, what? And the captain's like, what? And Dean's like, she has amnesia. And the captain's like, that explains why the radicals couldn't activate the TF system. Chuck is like, so Avril's a Varuni, not a human? And the captain says, well, no, she's a common ancestor of both. She's a Filgaian from 12,000 years ago. And the party's just like, well, okay, that's not the craziest thing that's happened today. We cut to Volsung's dumb throne room again. Feridun apologizes for letting Avril get away. Kartikeya says they should have just killed her when they had the chance, and Persephone's like, how would we have activated the TF system then, dumbass?
Do you know what our evil plan is at all? Or are you just listening for any new name you can go, I could kill that person?
Kartikeya has sort of like lower scale, more immediate evil plans of just kill individuals. Yeah. Not like activate a crazy machine that kills everyone on the planet. He'll just take the more old-fashioned route to killing everyone on the planet.
One by one, by his own hands.
Yes. So Feridun asks where Elvis is, since he was summoned here as well. Persephone says he's checking on something out at the coffin. Freydun orders some soldiers to collect Elvis and tells Volsung that he'll personally see to it that they recapture Avril. Volsung says, "No, stay here until Elvis returns. I have another plan. Let us offer eternal rest to those who hesitate to embrace death. I'm normal."
Question. Do you think the fact that they haven't ever shown Elvis is going to be a real thing that they're doing, or is a Sam Allman thing that they're doing, and it won't be a twist or anything?
I mean, I've played more of this game, and I've met Elvis, and so I know, but so I can't say either way because that would be spoilers.
Okay.
I was gonna say my guess was that Elvis was the professor.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
Okay, well, y'all are right.
Okay.
Yay! We're smart.
We did it. Yeah, after it came out that he was Varuni like 2 days ago, I was like, oh, another Varuni that this late in the game doesn't have their name in their text box, probably important. So now Captain finally has a name.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Yes, but
in the next paragraph, he gets his name. Back on the bridge, the party has just finished introducing themselves properly. The captain says his name is Bartholomew, and he welcomes them to the Mayflower. He explains that he was only Johnny Appleseed until the settlement on Filgaia. Now he's just the captain of the Mayflower. Rebecca's like, okay, but about the plot, what's the deal with this TF system thing? Bartholomew explains that it's meant to reform the planet into one suitable for Varuni, because it's rejecting them. Filgaia itself is suffering from a disease, but if they cured the disease and restored Filgaia to its former strength, it would just get better at rejecting the Varuni. The radicals only care about reforming the planet with the TF system, even though that means all native life on Filgaia will die, and Dean's like, that's bad. Bartholomew says the radicals have been able to power up the TF system to 20%, and they're already seeing casualties from that. Rebecca wonders if Pastel's illness was caused by the TF system, and I'm like, well, we know that that's the case, but also, like...
Interesting leap.
People get sick for lots of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carol's like, and that one time I had a fever, and I'm like... You're like, people get fevers, and I feel like especially children get fevers a lot.
Yeah. It feels very much like a writer being like, I need to make it clear everything is tied together. Like,
yes.
It's like, I mean, you don't gotta do that. People have imaginations. I don't know if you're aware.
Anyway, Bartholomew says that the radicals can't bring the TF system to full power as long as Avril's lost her memories. The TF system was built with a lock so that it could only be activated by the leader of the radicals. The radicals of 12,000 years ago, that is. Because in the past, there were groups called the radicals and the moderates, and now in the present, there's groups called the radicals and the moderates, and they're kind of related, but also they're different groups, and it's just confusing that they're called the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, it's been 12,000 years, so things have changed. The bigger thing is that the old-timey radicals had a monarchy, and they don't anymore.
Without the monarch's authorization, the TF system can't be fully activated, but there's no royalty today, and the bloodline has long since died off. The modern radicals have been able to use an alternative energy source to get the TF system to 20% power, but they need Avril to activate it fully. Avril is the sole remaining member of that royal family, awake after 12,000 years in cold sleep. Because of her icy, ruthless manner, she was called the Ice Queen in those days.
Oh, the Ice Queen was in cold sleep.
Yes. Carol asks why, if Avril was one of the old radicals, she stayed on Filgaia in cold sleep instead of going into space with them. Bartholomew's like, I don't know, ask Avril. And Avril's like, I have amnesia. Bartholomew says, I could restore your memories, though the personality of the Ice Queen may come back with them. In that case, everyone here would become your enemy. Dean and Rebecca are like, but we're such good friends! Bartholomew says that's what he's counting on, that those bonds will overcome the ruthless personality of the Ice Queen. That way she could regain her memory while remaining the same Avril she is now.
The real Ice Queen was the friend we met along the way.
Yes. Greg's like, what's your deal actually? And Bartholomew's like, yeah, we're using y'all for political gain because if Avril doesn't become the Ice Queen, it's a victory for the moderates. Anyway, Avril, do you want your memories back or not? Avril's afraid of losing herself and turning on her friends, so she turns him down. He says there's a chance she'll regain her memories naturally, so they'll have to confine her on the ship for everyone's safety. Dean says he won't let her spend her whole life holed up on this ship, and their bonds of friendship won't break if she gets her memories back. Not even the strongest arm could break them. Everyone gives a little speech about their friendship, even Chuck, who I think has spoken one line directed to Avril.
Yeah, but like he brings up, she was the one that directly saved his life back in what's the name of the very first town.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, she went all Super Saiyan. Remember, she was like,
"Yeah,
promises are important, etc., etc."
Yeah. Avril is filled with determination and tells Bartholomew she wants to regain her memories after all. And Bartholomew's like, hell yeah. Now it's time for y'all to dive into Avril's mind, because that's a thing you can do. Rebecca says, wait a second. Are you really okay with that? Because if you seal away the ice cream, won't that endanger the Varuni? And Bartholomew's like, well, I don't know. We'll just have to figure that out. But we moderates figure saving ourselves with no regard for other life is too irresponsible. So
your tongue slipped and you said ice cream, and that made that sentence very, very funny.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well. Anyway, Carol offhand mentions Lady Diana, and Bartholomew's like, oh man, Lady Diana, I haven't seen her in a while. And Rebecca just, out of nowhere, asks if they were lovers. And I'm like, what?
I just now, anytime I realize two people I know each other, just, were you lovers? Wait, Sam, you know the game professor too? You lovers?
Yes.
Anyway, the party and Bartholomew head to sickbay so that they can enter Avril's mind palace. They can do this using their mediums because of reasons. Even Avril gets to come into her own mind. Our heroes venture through Avril's mind palace, relive moments from their shared past, and have conversations. Avril seems to regain part of her memories as we're going through without doing the full regain memories thing, because she starts talking about stuff that she wouldn't have known before. But anyway, point is, she says that Volsung was the one who originally woke her up, but she couldn't activate the TF system. Then the moderates sent that golem to get her, but it couldn't escape, so it ejected its arm carrying her, and that's how the beginning of the game happened. Later on, Avril asks Dean to kill her if she becomes the Ice Queen, and Dean's like, no. If that happens, I'll just turn you back instead. Moving on, eventually the party encounters another Avril, who calls herself the true Avril, the Ice Queen. She says villain shit. Dean asks how Avril can get her memories back, and the Ice Queen says Avril has to accept her. Avril deliberately sealed her own memories away, she says. The Ice Queen and Avril talk back and forth, explaining the plot to each other. Avril entered cold sleep 12,000 years ago to await the return of her compatriots. They had developed the TF system and activated it for a test, but the moderates interfered and the test failed. The radicals departed to space, hoping for the planet to make a natural recovery, and Avril voluntarily remained so her genetic code wouldn't mutate over the long voyage and become incompatible with the TF system. They explained stuff we already figured out, like that the Varuni's mutations make Filgaia see them as invaders and is fighting them off like a body fights a disease, all that stuff. The Ice Queen says that in order to survive, they must activate the TF system and reform Filgaia. Rebecca's like, but you can't just do that. The Ice Queen says there is an alternative that would allow the Varuni to survive, but it's unrealistic. It would require the humans to trust the Varuni as friends, The Ice Queen talks about how this is impossible, and I'm like, whose fault is that?
It's almost like you motherfuckers have been enslaving everyone.
Avril's like, I don't want to kill all humans. The Ice Queen attacks. The party can't defeat her because she's the queen of the Mind Palace, and because this is 1 out of every 2 boss battles in this game.
Yeah, it does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is a effective storytelling technique that you can use in your JRPG. It is not effective if it is every time.
Yes. After she wins the battle, the Ice Queen is like, "Mwahaha, I'm evil, you can't beat me." Avril's so pathetic she even lied to herself about Cold Sleep giving her amnesia instead of acknowledging that she sealed away her memories herself. And Avril's like, wait, why did I seal my memories away myself? And the Ice Queen's like, don't worry about it. The Ice Queen gets frustrated and decides to just kill Avril, so she starts making a magic ball of energy appear around her hand. But the party steps in front of Avril, each giving a dialogue box or 2 about their friendship. The Ice Queen decides to test their friendship and disappears along with Avril. The party has to do some dungeoneering without Avril, then has to do a weird test where there are 2 Avrils, and Dean has to choose the real one. It's weird.
They're stuck in a big boulder.
Yep.
It's like the creator's like, okay, you know that the thing of, oh, we've got to shoot which one's the correct one. One of them has to say the thing that only that person would say. What if that? But instead of having to shoot one of them, you just had to pick which one is stuck in a boulder.
Yep.
Is the right one.
It's weird. Anyway, Dean chooses the right one, and the Ice Queen attacks again. But this time the party can defeat her because of friendship. Or something. I sort of was giving up on writing notes at this point. After the fight, Avril reveals that what the Ice Queen's been trying to hide from her is what happened during the TF system test. Specifically, the, in red text, dimensional turbulence from the shock caused by the moderate's interference. There were no casualties from it, but there was one person affected by it. That person was... ... But then Avril moves on to a new sentence and says she cannot reject the Ice Queen. She's a part of her. She must accept her. Avril says she will save humans and fulfill the Ice Queen's desire to save the Varuni as well. The Ice Queen insists this is impossible, but the whole party says together, you can do anything as long as you don't give up. The Ice Queen disappears as Avril has fully accepted this dark, shadowy part of her into herself, and now Avril can summon her persona.
I was about to make the same joke.
The party is back in the sickbay. Avril wakes up and hugs Dean, crying and saying weird shit about meeting him again. Bartholomew insists this isn't foreshadowing for Dean being the reincarnation of a legend from 12,000 years ago or something, or having been someone from 12,000 years ago who was flung into the future by this dimensional turbulence or something. No, it's just that Avril's head is probably just screwy from her getting her memories back all of a sudden.
Obviously.
After a time skip, Avril says her memory's still fuzzy, so she's not going to actually act different or anything. But now that she's accepted the Ice Queen into her consciousness or whatever, the Ice Queen can't take over and the TF system can't be activated. And I'm like, but you do know how to activate it. And the radicals could torture you.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to hope that that doesn't happen, or that you can resist any amount of torture.
Hopefully.
Avril states her determination to save both the humans and the Varuni. She and Dean are determined to create a world where humans and Varuni can trust each other and live as equals and not fucking subjugate one subjugate the other and shit.
Hey, what if it's a wild idea as part, instead of just saying, all right, peace, no more active systemic oppression, what if there was like, I don't know, some sort of repayment of all of the horrible things that have been done. Some sort of like reparations?
Yeah, something to repair
Yeah,
all of the
yeah.
horrible things that have happened.
Yeah. That might be neat.
Yes. Bartholomew says he'd like to show them how things are for the Varuni now. There's a medical facility called the Cradle to the west. He says the party should go there and meet the Varuni there before deciding their next move. But, he says, the monsters on Locus Solus are incredibly strong, so he's going to give them that giant one-armed golem, which is named Asgard, by the way. Dean just about shits himself now that he has his own golem. Next week, we'll go to the Cradle, and we'll find out what battles are like in a golem. Spoiler, they're extremely disappointing.
Oh. I'm gonna ask to go first because I really just got one, which is when they introduced the ship is called the Mayflower, and you have conversations in which you've got the Mayflower, Johnny Appleseed, and Elvis being thrown around. It feels like such a weird mindfuck.
Yeah, in a Japanese RPG.
Yeah, it feels like the Japanese, like what so many Americans will do to other cultures, where you just pick out a couple things from their history, hundreds of years apart, and you just like match them all together.
Absolutely.
I love it. Basically, anything before 1900 is close enough to Wild West.
Yeah.
To be themed on that.
So now that we have Asgard, we can use golem parts, which are a thing they've been giving us in just random chests this entire game, and I've been trying to figure out so many times like what I'm supposed to do, because when Dean finds someone in a plot cutscene, he's like, "Oh my god, I'm going to sell this and be rich," but you can't sell any of the golem parts, and so it's just been these weird things we keep finding throughout the entire game, and I had no idea what they were for, and now they're finally for this thing, and it's bizarre that they would do that.
But we have a golem now.
And
it's not, and having played a little bit more, it's not nearly as cool as you'd expect.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that next week. So this game, it doesn't have a lot of fully voiced cutscenes with bespoke animations and stuff. But when it does, they go hard.
They go so hard.
Like specifically in the in these cutscenes this week, especially like the one that's in the giant chamber where with the golems that are going to kill the party, Avril's voice acting is so good.
I love the scene where she has a mental breakdown to just repeat Dean's catchphrase, because she doesn't just say it the same every time. It's like she has different inflections that are like more and more sure of herself as she goes along, and it's surprisingly good for a very stupid idea.
Yeah, she really sells that dumb catchphrase is like a unique and inspiring idea instead of just the moral of every children's story.
Yeah. Dean is just the little engine that could, and that's basically it.
He is anime protagonist, little engine that could.
So, Trish, what's it like over in Lesbian Subtext Corner?
I have some crumbs. Honestly, I'm sorry, I don't got much. There wasn't a lot. But again, it feels like I get a couple crumbs, and then the game is like, "Oh my god, Avril just hugged Dean, and now Rebecca's jealous." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! No, I don't care."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, can I spoil something from the next dungeon?
Yes.
Please.
So there's a part in the next dungeon where you have to go through a series of rooms, and in each room you have to leave a party member behind to stay on a switch. And it'll be like, oh, in this room is dark, and you can't leave Chuck or someone else because they're afraid of the dark. And in this room you can't leave this person. And one of those things is that if you are with Avril, Rebecca won't leave because she won't leave you two alone together.
God damn it.
And I'm like, oh my God. And also that really annoyed me because I got into a situation where I really I couldn't figure out how to swap people around in order to not have that happen. So I was really annoyed with Rebecca.
Yeah, especially coming off of Skies of Arcadia, where like it's plot where they're like, oh yeah, neither of us are mad that we're both in love with Vice. It's just what we do, and everybody's like, cool, I'll do you. More power to you. Go be poly pirates. Sell your life rights to Taika Waititi, and I'll make a bunch of money in the future. But coming to this one where a lot of the same setups are happening, but it's completely tanked by Rebecca being like, but no, he's talking to other girls, is so frustrating.
It honestly, like, it reminds me of even in queer fiction, when I run into, like, this is just like as a poly person that really bothers me. I don't know if it bothers you as much, Sam, but just when you run into things where they treat jealousy as sign of affection or love, like, oh, I got jealous, that's how you're supposed to know that I'm in love with this person. It's like, that's just doesn't, I'm sorry, it doesn't feel healthy. That's not good. I don't like that. You know what's way better than jealousy? Compersion.
Right. I frequently we'll be watching something and they will set up some stupid love triangle, and I'll just turn to Summer and I'll be like, "Por qué no los dos?" Like, why does this have to be a plot?
Exactly. Also, just there's the bit, like, again, I think I really truly felt like, I don't know if I'm going to even bring up Avril Rebecca stuff unless the game really gives me something going forward, because the bit where she's like, oh, she's going to talk about each party member and how they, like, matter to her, and just like the fact that Rebecca felt like she, like, there was no special importance on her whatsoever. She was like, she's behind Carol. Like, it was like a nothing going on. I was like, okay, then this feels like nothing then. Yeah. I'm truly grasping at straws here, and I don't have the energy to grasp at straws anymore.
It's not that the ship has sailed; it's that Rebecca and Avril broke up off screen, and so all your subtext earlier was very real. It wasn't imagined, but now they've just broke up.
You don't need to pity me.
I wanted to make sure I knew what compersion was, and not that just you'd said compassion with a really weird accent. So I googled compersion, and form of joy in the joy of others. It says blah blah blah. But one of the people also asks is, who invented compersion? And I'm like, I get that it's asking like who coined the term, but just the idea, who invented this feeling?
Yeah. Who invented being happy for other people? It's bullshit. I'm tired of it being in my life. I want to send this guy a sternly worded letter.
Oh gosh, I also just we poked fun of him in the recap, but Fulgung is just such a boring villain. He's such a nothing burger.
Yeah.
He's just so evil.
He's so evil, and it feels like no one who works with him really gets it. They're like, but Fulgung, that would be killing innocent humans. He's like,
well, Kartikeya is fine with it.
You're in Kartikeya. I mean, everyone else.
Yeah, Faradun and Persephone don't really, like, I'm not going to call them good people, but they just seem to be so less, I guess you'd say, radical than he is on this.
Yeah, they don't super feel like radicals. It's weird that you've got the big evil man, and you've got kill 'em all man, and then everyone else we've met on the radical side. I'm like, are you guys? It feels like you're just like a member of this political party for like some kind of like bonuses you get for it, and not any like actual beliefs you have.
Yeah, like Persephone was in love with a human. Why are you on the kill every human and also every plant and animal that lives on Filgaia party? Doesn't quite make sense to me.
Don't forget the fungi.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
What about the anaerobic bacteria? They said all life native to the planet. So, are we losing anaerobic bacteria too?
Probably.
Oh, that sucks.
They're gonna reform the planet, destroy all life on the planet, but then they'll get down there and realize the VR factor was a virus, which is not technically alive.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't get destroyed.
Excellent point. Do we have anything else for memorable? Some memoms? Memoms?
I don't know. I feel my notes were long, but I sort of barreled through them. I feel like we haven't been talking long enough. Oh, it's been a fair amount of time.
Yeah, I really like this game, and this week was especially good. I don't think we've had a single like bad or like frustrating week besides poking fun at Rebecca, but like everything's been great. But this was like turned up a notch of greatness, and now we're in the home stretch of this game.
You know, one thing I realized we forgot to talk about.
What?
From a week or two ago.
What?
Is when they're in Mount Chug Chug and they're talking with Nightburn. There's a part where he pulls out a gun. Like he's been using his arm the whole time, which is like this giant machine gun thing. But at one point he pulls out just a gun. And it's treated as this big deal that he has a gun and he's pointing it at Dean and stuff. And it just feels like it's a completely different thing. Like it's as if everyone were using swords and someone pulled out a gun.
Right.
It was so weird to me. I don't know if it felt weird to y'all, but it just felt like everything else was arms. But this is lowercase letters. This is a gun.
Yeah, that felt weird to me too. I think it was kind of subsumed by all the other weirdness in the Mount Chug Chug.
There was every week there's a lot of weird shit going on.
Okay, but that was the conversation where he went from kill all humans to actually no, you're right, Dean. You should be the goodest of good boys, and I'll help you and protect you. And it was like, wait, what? What?
We hadn't even explored why you want to kill all humans.
Yeah,
and you've already changed your mind.
He had real Judge from Ace Attorney vibes, just like, oh, you made an excellent point. I don't want to kill the humans anymore.
The autopsy Judge. Report was updated. I like this game quite a bit. I feel like every week there's something sort of weird or bad. But also every week I enjoy most of it, and the battle system continues to be really good, except when you're in a golem. Yeah.
Speaking of heading into the home stretch of this game, so in case you skipped over the episode we put up last week, don't go back and listen to it. It's surprisingly long and well thought out, but we are starting our poll for the best of the rest early, because we were going to do 2 more games before we did it, but we got excited and wanted to do it early, so we're doing it early. So we've opened up the poll. You can find it over at www.rpgbook.club, where any donation will get you access to the poll. And you can vote on all 16 of the losers for all of the polls that we've done so far. So that's 3 per year and 4 last year. I'm not going to read them all off because there's 16 of them and there's a lot. But if you are a Okage Shadow King stan and you really want us to play it, you gotta head on over and make a donation and then cast your vote. The poll is different this time. It's in a ranked choice voting, so you rank which one you want to be number 1 all the way through number 16, and then at the end we're going to take the 2 games with the least amount of votes and play both of them. So yeah, it's super cool. Early lead is Paper Mario and Final Fantasy X-2. So if you hate both of those games, you can go and vote them in dead last, and that will fuck them up a lot because 16 is a big number. So if they keep getting 1s and 2s and somebody drops a 16 on them, it's going to knock them down a peg. So
if you hate Paper Mario, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know how someone could hate Paper Mario. Come on, man.
Absolutely.
I agree with Bernard. I also just want to say for the record, I don't know if this will influence anyone's votes. If Tentu's in the top 2 spots, I've never played Final Fantasy X, and I'm just saying on a personal level, I think it would be absolutely hysterical if I played 10-2 before I play 10. I think that would... There are people I personally know who would try to strangle me if that was the case. So please, do it! Do it!
It would be... It would give you a unique perspective on the narrative, I think. Mm-hmm. I doubt there are many people who played 10-2 before 10.
Yeah. And most games are actually pretty good at the Stanley quote. I was going to call it something.
Every issue,
but every comic is someone's first comic, and so a lot of games are pretty good at doing that, despite being sequels. And so we can see how good 10-2 is at doing that, or if it's just throwing you some jargon straight up constantly and never stopping, like Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. That one is not a good first Kingdom Hearts game. Don't play that one first. But
I'd say no Kingdom Hearts game is a good Kingdom Hearts game. First Kingdom Hearts game.
True story. I've played like 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, like 2 hours of the first Kingdom Hearts, and I was just like, this ain't for me. This ain't my game. Power to all the people who love it. I have a friend who is deeply invested in the characters of Terra and Aqua, and is extolled to me of them in great detail, and I nod my head and I go, cool. I'm glad those characters mean so much to you.
Yeah, since you just played the first couple of hours of the first one and haven't played Final Fantasy X, I think that explains a lot, because that's when all of the Final Fantasy X cameos are. Anywho, yeah, so like I said, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club to donate on that poll, and if you set up a monthly donation, you also get some additional benefits. If you do donate $1 a month or more a month, you get access to our bonus feed, where we are currently working through Tales of Destiny Director's Cut for our Tales of Podcastia subseries.
And the phrase is working through.
Working through, yes. It is.
It's fine.
It's inoffensive, which is a step up from the first one. Hopefully we'll play a good one soon. But so far, we have actively bad, and now we're up to inoffensive. So we'll keep pushing, and maybe we'll get there. But if you donate $5 or more a month, we'll also shout out your name at the end of every episode, just like this. Shout outs to Cerebral Wind, It's Claire Time, Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Floris, Kaldron, Freddy Rodriguez, AA Ron 524, and JFro Prime. And finally, if you love us so much that you want to donate $20 or more a month, you can also make me say a sentence of your choosing to either plug something or just make me say particular words in a particular order. So shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. And shout out to Vimk, who says, look, you're playing one old JRPG with a guy with blue hair that punches, even though Dean should be shooting, he punches anyways. Why not play another one and play Legend of Legaia for the PlayStation 1? And then shout outs to Carr, who's a dentist, so he isn't plugging a website, but rather your own mouth. He says to brush your teeth twice a day. Most importantly, the time before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam Ullman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye.